Hello students, welcome to another tutorial arranged by Childcare School and College. I am Ashiqul Islam here with you, and today the topic of discussion would be standard tense English second paper, and the topic would be tag question. Well, you know that since there has been some changes made to the syllabus, the new syllabus that is for the SSC exam, where the changes are like the marks for tag question was 5 marks before, but now it has become 7 marks. So there will be actually 7 questions, so you can actually understand the importance of this topic. So today we are going to focus on this topic, and let's see how it goes. So as you know well that questions or interrogative sentences are of basically 3 types. They are yes no question, WH question, and tag question. So we are actually focusing on the tag question today. So let's see how tag question works. For tag questions, you need to get a greater idea about auxiliary verbs, and I hope you know it already. So the auxiliary verbs will form or will help us form the tag question. Some of the auxiliary verbs are am, is, are, was, were, do, does, did, have, has, had, and then will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, and so on. So that means most of the auxiliary verbs can be used to form a tag question. When you're forming a tag question, what we will do is there will be a dash or a space for you to write down the tag, and we will put the auxiliary verb that we will find out from the sentence, and then we will put a pronoun relative to the subject of the sentence. And there are some really important things that we should keep in mind. That is, the sentence that you are working on, if the sentence is affirmative, that is, it has a positive sense, the tag of that question will be negative. And if the sentence is negative, the tag of that sentence will be affirmative. So it goes kind of like vice versa. If the sentence is affirmative, the tag has to be negative. Again, if the sentence is negative, the tag has to be affirmative. And a negative sentence will include these words like no, not, never, neither, nor, none, no one, nobody, nothing, nowhere, and so on. So all the words that has a negative sense to it will be considered a negative sentence. But there are some exceptional words which also express a negative sense, like hardly, rarely, barely, scarcely, seldom, a few, and etc. So when we are forming our tag question, we will obviously have to look at the sentence that we are working on. If the sentence is affirmative, our tag will be negative. If you find an affirmative sentence, the tag you're forming, especially the auxiliary verb, what we will do is, if the sentence is positive or affirmative, the tag will be negative, and when you're writing the tag in negative form, you really should make it into the contracted form. Like here, is not has become isn't. And when we actually change it to the contracted form, what we actually do is just, you can see there is a space between these two words. We reduce that space and conjoin them and just drop the O out of the sentence, out of the word actually, and put an apostrophe over there. So that's how we contract words. There are spaces between the words. We actually remove the space, conjoin them, remove the O of not, put an apostrophe instead, and that's how we get our contracted negative form of the auxiliary verb. Now there are some exceptional auxiliary verbs that when becomes contracted while being negative takes a different kind of form, like, so here we have exceptional negative contractions. There am not becomes ain't, okay? Will not becomes won't, shall not becomes shan't, cannot becomes can't. You really should memorize or remember these 4 words because these are a little bit exceptional. Rest of the auxiliary verbs follow this format. All right? The space will be removed, the O will be gone, and there will be an apostrophe instead, and all the letters will be conjoined together as one. That means the space will be gone. So as we know that when we are forming tag questions, we will have an auxiliary verb that we will find out from the sentence, then the pronoun that is relative to the subject. Tag questions are also called tail questions. We usually use tag questions without even knowing about it in our usual life. Here are some examples that we have written down for you. Let's see at the first one. The boy is sick. You can clearly see there is an auxiliary verb that is sick, is over here. So what we need to do is we will make the tag using our auxiliary verb that is. And since there's no sign of negative expression here, the tag will obviously be negative. So the tag will be, since there's nothing negative, so we will put our negative expression isn't. And since it talks about the boy, which is a male, we will take the relative pronoun, the pronoun relative to it, not exactly the relative pronoun relative to the subject, which is, since it's a boy, we will write he. The boy is sick, isn't he? That is our tag question. And we often ask questions like that to people to get the approval or consent of the other person hearing us. So here we have another example that says, the boy is working. Now you may notice that this sentence is actually a present continuous tense, but still we have our auxiliary verb is. We will again form the tag question using this same auxiliary verb is. And since there is no sign of negative expression over here, so the tag will be negative, which is isn't. And since again it's a boy, we will use the pronoun that is relative to the subject, the boy, which is he. All right, we will never use a noun over here. We will obviously always use a pronoun, okay? Just like here, auxiliary verb, and then the pronoun, and then the question mark. And remember one thing, when you're filling out your tag questions in the answer paper, you must write the full sentence, okay? You have to write the whole sentence, and then underneath your answer, you will put the dash, okay? So let's go on. Let's look at the third example that says, you are a great student. Here we have our auxiliary verb are, and the subject is actually you, which is itself a pronoun, so we don't need to look for any other thing, anything that is related to the subject. We already have our pronoun. And since the sentence is completely in positive or affirmative expression, our tag will be in negative expression. So it will be, aren't you? So you are a great student, aren't you? That is our tag. They are waiting. Here we have our auxiliary verb are, and it's also a present continuous tense, but we will obviously use the word are or the auxiliary verb are. And the subject here is they, which is also a pronoun by itself, so we will use they. And the sentence is in a complete positive or affirmative expression. Our tag will be in negative expression. So here we have it. They are waiting, aren't they? That's our tag. Let's move on to the fifth example. It says, he is not present. Here we have our auxiliary verb is, and the subject is he, which is also a pronoun by itself. But this sentence has the negative expression not. So our tag has to be in affirmative expression, which is he. We haven't used any negative expression over here because the sentence is in negative expression. And let's move on to the sixth example. It says, he is barely sick. Now, as I told you before, there are some exceptional words which also express negative, just like no, not, never. And those words are hardly, rarely, barely, scarcely, seldom, a few, and etc. These words have the expression of being in a negative form. So he's barely sick. We have this word barely, which gives us the expression of negative. So our tag here in this case will be positive or affirmative. So our auxiliary verb is. We are not going to put not or anything like that because we have our negative expression over here. The tag will be positive, and the subject is he, which is also a pronoun by itself. He's barely sick, is he? It is pretty close to saying he's never sick. Now our seventh example says, they can play. Can, I hope you know, can is a modal auxiliary verb. So we can also use can to form our tag question. So this has affirmative expression. We will use a negative expression. And as you know very well that cannot has an exceptional negative contraction, which is can't. There are actually two n's. One of the n drops out and the o also drops out. There you go. They can play. Can't they? That's our tag, which we have just made from the sentence. So that concludes today's lesson. There are more coming very soon. Stick to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you very soon in the next video. Goodbye. Take care.